Welcome, Codegarden, and welcome everyone watching online. Now we have the wonderful Paul coming up to talk about how can a composable DXP be used with Umbraco. So give a big warm welcome to Paul, please.
Morning, everyone. I'm Paul Marden. I'm the director of Carbon 6 Digital, and we're an Umbraco Gold partner, and we help clients to continuously improve their customer experience using best-of-breed marketing tools like HubSpot, Umbraco, and Bloomreach. And in my session today, I really want to talk to you about the state of the marketing technology landscape and what that means for building Umbraco solutions. I'm obviously going to talk a lot about DXP, and I'm going to look at some of the integrations that are already existing in Umbraco, and I'm going to share a few war stories and case studies. Then, towards the end of the presentation, I'm going to be joined by a very special guest, Jesper from HQ, and we're going to have a little chat about the future of DXP and integrations in Umbraco. This is not a... Oh, I just noticed I haven't got a clicker. This is not a dev-heavy presentation by any means. I'm not going to be teaching you how to write code. None of you deserve that. This is very much going to be a business focus and business benefit kind of presentation. There is a much more detailed presentation tomorrow morning by Adrian from HQ. Instead, I'm going to help you to understand what can be built from the Lego blocks that Adrian and his team are building. I'm going to start with a health warning. If, like the Umbraco rabbit or the mayor this morning, you were too afraid to ask what DXP actually meant, this is the talk for you. But if you're playing Marchin's drinking game, you might want to think twice about sitting through this presentation because I am going to make many references to DXP, and you'll need some serious drinking capacity to be able to make it through to the end of the presentation. And at some point, together, we will be reciting the Gartner definition of what a DXP actually is. So, what is this DXP thing, and how has it come into being? We've had content management systems as a well-defined, well-understood software category for 20 years. And over time, the big proprietary players began to develop features in their CMSs like personalization, analytics, and in order to differentiate themselves from the classic CMSs, WordPress and Umbraco, they began to use this term DXP as a differentiator. So, can we agree what a DXP actually is? When you search for DXP, you get lots of vendor hype, and then you find the obligatory Gartner definition. We ought to be able to recite it together because I know that Philip literally only just mentioned it on stage. But Gartner talk about a digital experience platform, or DXP, as an integrated set of core technologies that support the composition, management, delivery, and optimization of contextualized digital experiences. But how many of you can recite the Forrester definition of what a DXP is? That includes something which I find quite interesting. So they talk about it provides an architectural foundation and modular services for developers to create, orchestrate, and optimize digital journeys at scale. But the bit that I find interesting is it's to drive loyalty and new commerce outcomes across owned and third-party channels. Is it just marketing hype, though? I've taken part in the conversations where this DXP thing, certainly to some devs in the community that have grown up with Umbraco as a CMS, feeling like this is just a marketing hype concept. I mean, to me, it's a real thing. And I think that many of the people that make the decisions to use a product at the sort of organizations that Philip talked about in the 2027 vision, so those mid-market to lower enterprise kind of clients, they make decisions, and I know this because I was sat for 10 years in one of those sorts of organizations. They make decisions based on the advice and guidance that they get from people like Forrester and Gartner. And they think it's a thing, so for me, it's a thing. So there's two types of DXP that we're going to look at a little bit today. We're going to talk about the monolithic DXPs. These are typically early entrants into the category, and they were the big enterprise-scale platforms where you would buy wholesale into a single application platform, so-called monolithic DXPs, that provide personalization, analytics, e-commerce, CDP, search. And examples of some of these, they make me a little bit uncomfortable when I talk about them. We've got Adobe Experience Cloud, Oracle Advertising and Customer Experience, Salesforce Cloud, SAP CX. They all sound very corporate, and they all sound very, very expensive to me. And the key advantage of those single vendor DXPs are that you get your service and support from a single vendor. So back when I was an IT buyer in a corporate environment, we would call that a single throat to choke. But the principal disadvantage is the lack of flexibility, the price, and oftentimes the features that are bought but not needed. Let's compare that with the Composable DXP. In a composable platform, you choose the components of DXP that work for you. You choose, if you want, the best-in-class customer data platform that suits all your needs, the whiz-bang version, or if it suits you better, you choose the mid-market CDP that integrates better with the CMS that you're using. The important thing is you choose where you compromise. Is it on cost or is it on features? You don't get that choice when you buy into the monolithic platforms. Now, let's be clear. I don't think Umbraco has ever tried to present itself as that monolithic platform, that suite. Anyone that's been to a Codegarden in the last 10 years, you will have heard Niels, and more recently Kim, talking about the fact that Umbraco focuses on the core CMS and enabling a best-of-breed integrations approach. And there were many refrains, and I'm not going to try and do Niels' accent, and I'm far too afraid to do Kim's accent on stage. They would say that they don't do e-commerce, they don't do personalization. Instead, they focus on making it possible for us to easily integrate with those best-in-class packages. But in the last 18 to 24 months, there's been a gentle shift in that narrative, I would say. It's not a complete 360 turnaround. I think they are presenting Umbraco as the CMS core to a composable DXP, where you choose the components that you need. Is Umbraco alone in that narrative? No, I don't think so. We can see Contentful, we can see Content by Kentico. Interestingly, we can see Sitecore try to have a foot in both camps, trying to pitch both a DXP suite and at the same time being the core CMS for a composable DXP. Interestingly, yesterday at the Partner Summit, and again this morning, I saw Philip talking, using language which makes me feel really comfortable. He talked about Umbraco being now product-focused. And I found it really interesting that he was talking about where is the unique selling point for Umbraco as a composable CMS. And it is around that editor experience, how we can make editors feel happy to be going in and making changes on their platform. And that's a real unique selling point in comparison to some of the other players that are in the field. So, didn't click. There we go. So, there's a clear direction of travel for Umbraco HQ, and that's the composable DXP play. And it is reflected in the wider market, and Gartner seems to agree as well. And there's some stuff here that I thought was interesting. So it's a long, wordy passage, but currently the proportion of organizations opting to assemble a DXP from multiple composable components is roughly equal to that choosing to purchase a monolithic solution from a single vendor. There are indications that the market is moving, however, more toward composable DXPs. So this ratio will soon start to change. Composable DXPs are becoming more desirable as organizations are seeking flexibility, modularity, and ultimately business agility. Let's look at that in more detail. Why is composable a winning strategy for Umbraco? Flexibility and scalability. Choose the components that you want and buy only the things that you need. This one's a killer that I found. Faster time to market. Customers on composable DXPs can deliver 80% faster than on a monolithic platform. And there's less vendor lock-in. And this really is the corollary to the one throat to choke argument. If you've only got one throat to choke, then if you want to change anything, you have to change everything. So let's drill down more into what are the individual parts of that composable DXP infrastructure. We've got, there is no clear answer, by the way. If you look at Gartner, Forrester, CMS Wire, G2 Crowd, there's no clear definition of the important components of DXP. But if you squint and try and look at where the patterns are, you see things like content, obviously, personalization, CDP, customer data platforms, commerce, data, search. And what are the tools that integrate well with Umbraco? The list is endless. For every example I might present to you of what I think is best in breed for any particular category, there are literally too many to see clearly on a screen. There are dozens and dozens of challenger tools. But I've seen strong demonstrable evidence of integration of Umbraco in the personalization space with uMarketingSuite, HubSpot, Dynamics, and Salesforce for CRM, Bloomreach for CDP, Vendor, uCommerce, BigCommerce, Shopify for e-commerce, Azure and Bloomreach again for recommendation engines, and Funnel, Zapier, Google Data Studio, and Power BI for analytics and data. Many of those are custom-built integrations by partners such as myself. But in the last 18 to 24 months, again, we've seen Umbraco start to deliver point-to-point integrations with individual applications, like HubSpot and SEMrush. And what we'll see over the next few months, Zapier, that was on the stage this morning, but also Google Search, Shopify, and by summer, Dynamics. You might think they might be eating the dinner off of my table in delivering some of these integrations, because that is where the vast bulk of where partner income often comes from, is in these interesting integrations. But a lot of what is being done is a lightweight integration that enables us to achieve most of the functionality that most people need straight out of the box, enabling in that RFP or procurement process to tick the box in a spreadsheet that Umbraco does the integration. But there's still plenty of opportunity for partners like myself to be able to build that deep, rich integration that delivers even better business benefit. I'm going to do one very quick case study of my own. Nextbase Dashcams is the market leader in the UK and growing at a pace in Europe and USA. And we built a multilingual, multi-currency, multi-regional, content-rich digital platform integrating Umbraco, custom-built into personalization and recommendations, vendor for e-commerce with Stripe, Klarna, and integration into TaxJar for US tax calculation, HubSpot CRM and Marketing Hub via the HubSpot e-commerce bridge, which was an integration that we had done, and also Funnel.io and Power BI for analytics. By having that composable architecture and by being able to own the entire customer journey from end to end, we could start to do continuous integration of customer experience. Sorry. wrong word, we could do continuous improvement of customer experience. So when we could see there was an opportunity for us to develop a bundle builder so that a bit like when you go to McDonald's and you can build a Happy Meal with the components that you want, when somebody tried to buy a camera, we would show them the compatible parts. We would show them upsells like warranties and installation process. We would get them a deal, they would get a discount, and they loved that. And within a month, 50% of all orders went through the bundle builder. But it also increased average order value because people were being able to select the things that were right for them. And because they were the right things for them, we improved their customer satisfaction and reduced the load on the support team when the package arrived and you realized you'd bought the wrong wiring kit for the camera that you'd bought. I'm going to flick past some of these because I should. Oh, and the outcome of that was a substantial increase in conversion rate. I've not given you the scale, but we absolutely aced our sales targets over a 10-month period as a result of those continuous improvements that we made. The next case study is one from my friends at Perplex, who are also an Umbraco Gold partner. And this one cleaned up at last year's Umbraco Awards, not that I'm bitter. And they developed for Athlon, their client, a composable DXP with Umbraco at its core. It had uMarketingSuite for intelligent personalization, analytics, and A/B testing. It integrated with one CRM and Eloqua, which I've not heard of before, for marketing automation. And with these tools, well integrated by the team at Perplex, Athlon achieved 6 times as many leads converting as a result of personalization. And they were very happy as a result of that. The last thing from me, I promised in the pitch for my slides that I would present a plan for you to achieve real business value by building a composable CMS, composable DXP with Umbraco as at its core. This is our multi-step Umbraco DXP reference architecture, which we use for D2C e-commerce, we use for visitor experiences and visitor attractions. And it's an architectural pattern that forms the core of our repeatable architectural designs for new projects in this space. It's based on the work of the case study with Nextbase and also Uber. And it extends to other retail and consumer-facing sites with elements of DXP like analytics, personalization, testing, CRM, and CDP. All with the goal of enabling you to continuously improve your customer experience. So in the early stages, well, we would, without a doubt, have Umbraco as the CMS at its core. We would very likely choose to use vendor with Stripe, and depending on the product, with Klarna as well for lost my mojo there. Vendor with Stripe, and potentially, depending on the product, we'd include Klarna as well for being able to do installment payments. We'd use TaxJar if we were selling in the USA. Depending on the business requirements, we would either use custom personalization if we wanted to keep the cognitive load on our editors to be low so they don't have to think about personalization, or where there's a need for flexible personalization, and we've got a really technically competent team of marketers capable of being able to manage a wide variety of variants, we would undoubtedly choose uMarketingSuite for personalization. We'd integrate with Bloomreach for customer data platform, especially where we had a need for us to be able to do omni-channel personalization. And where there was a need for that omni-channel personalization to drive into flexible personalization, then we would integrate Bloomreach into uMarketingSuite. Where there's a need for us to be able to extract structured data out of the system, we would integrate with Funnel, Funnel.io, and then onwards into a persistent data store in SQL Server with dashboards built in Power BI. Where there was a looser requirement for less structured data, we probably go with Zapier, and really pleased to know that there's going to be this Zapier integration soon that will enable us to pull data out of Umbraco, but we'd probably also want a custom integration so that we could pull data out of vendor into Zapier as well. And where there was a need for us to do email marketing, undoubtedly we would integrate with HubSpot MarketingSuite. So, cue the scary creaky noise. At this point, I'm going to pause, and I'm going to welcome my friend Jesper onto stage. Jesper is VP of Tech Partnerships at HQ. And Jesper has a really interesting career in tech, and he joined Umbraco just over a year ago. He's product-focused, and he's the bridge between HQ and the tech partners.
Thank you for having me, Paul.
Can you all welcome Jesper? Jesper.
That's a very young version of myself there, I must say. Thank you.
I do my best. So, Jesper, can we start? Can you tell everybody about Umbraco's approach to DXP in a more broad sense?
Yeah, sure. So, obviously, we embrace the composable DXP. Because all of a sudden now, and let's be fair, it's been said many times, we're content only. That's where we want to be, right? But now, together with a combination of integrations and relation to other tech partners, we can all of a sudden offer a complete suite. And a suite that offers flexibility and scalability and all the freedom that the customers are looking for. And thank you for doing such a great pitch for Composable DXP. I couldn't have done it better myself, because that's what it's really all about, giving the customers the freedom to build their preferred tech stack without being locked in. And that's what it's all about. And we embrace this, and we want to help the customers fulfill their business needs within the DXP. So what we do, basically, is that we build some integrations ourselves, as you mentioned, and we're going to continue doing this. We have a great team led by Andy Butler. And secondly, we're reaching out to relevant tech vendors, asking them, do they might have an integration already? Some have. They also reach out to us. And secondly, we just talk to a lot of solution partners, asking them, is there any tech out there that you would prioritize, that you're working with, that we should work with too? So we're doing a lot, and you're going to see an effect of this.
So those conversations I totally get. So when we started a conversation only a couple of weeks ago, we mentioned a platform, and straight away you said, oh, we had a conversation with them 3 months ago. Yeah, that's progressing. And then when I asked about what can we expect to see soon, and you mentioned Zapier, that made me really happy, because I love Zapier, and I got loads of zaps connecting my Umbraco data in our own dog-fooded site. We've got that Zapier integration, so knowing that there's going to be something coming from HQ that's going to help to tick that box for buyers, I think is great. So, without stealing your thunder on the Zapier pitch, what can we expect to see as the result of the effort that you're doing at the moment?
So we have a goal that already this year we're doing a lot of work, and you will see a rapid increase of integrations that we will be sharing at the marketplace and sharing news about. But I think that by the end of next year, we'll probably have a plus 100 integrations.
Wow.
So we're doing a lot.
That's a lot of ticks.
But 100 is not a lot if you compare to the landscape of martech that's out there. So one of the really key things for us is to prioritize. The only way we can prioritize is by talking to all the great people within the Umbraco ecosystem, learning what they're using and what they prioritize, what they think that we should integrate with. That's a key part, because we cannot integrate with 20,000 different tools. No way. And we shouldn't. It should be relevant.
So I know that we can go and visit the caravan, and we can go and have a chat with Anders if we're partners and try and influence from that direction, but how can we influence you from a product direction? Where do you want us to go and have these conversations with you?
Well, reach out. Talk to me. And I basically do 3 to 4 to 5 calls every month with solution partners within the Umbraco ecosystem and other stakeholders to learn and prioritize. We have a long list already, but it's dynamic, obviously.
Awesome. That's brilliant. Thank you. So, thank you, Jesper. Thank you to all of you for taking the time to come and listen to me today. I hope you've got a feeling for this kind of crazy new marketing term of DXP, what it might mean in terms of generating business value, and begin to build a plan for how you might implement a DXP with Umbraco at its core. There we go. If you're interested in finding out more technical depth to my kind of product speak, then you should check out the talk by Adrian from HQ's integration team, which is tomorrow at 8:30, where he'll be talking about developing integrations to a composable DXP. Coming up shortly is Thomas. Thomas, where are you, mate? There's Thomas, getting ready. He's going to be talking more about the role of the CMS in the modern composable DXP. I'm going to be back on the stage, hopefully with Jesper in just over half an hour, and also with Thomas, and we're going to do a Q&A about DXP with a business focus. And you can ask any questions via the conference app. So, with that, thank you very much. Thank you.